You've probably been told at some point in your life to be yourself. So I ask you this question. Do you know yourself? That reframes everything. Do you know your strengths? Do you know your flaws? Do you know the biases that you hold, that you were grown into, that were passed down upon you from your parents? Do you know the topics that immediately turn you off? Do you know how you react in specific situations? Do you know how you feel about certain topics? And do you know how to also express yourself whenever anything comes up? You probably don't have an answer for all of those questions. And I think the idea of be yourself that we pass around from time to time to each other is fairly flawed, because we don't really know who we are consistently. When I think of be yourself, I at least have my mind brought to general, for men at least, let's say someone's scared of trying to talk to a girl. It's February, we're still talking love here. And they ask, someone's like, oh my God, I want to talk to her. I don't know how to talk to her. How do I talk to her? And all we're just like, oh, come on, man, just go up and talk to her. Just be yourself. That's actually straight up a scene in Mufasa. I want to do an entire movie, or not an entire movie. No, I don't need to do an entire movie. I want to do a video talking down the road how that entire movie is very flawed, and how the perspectives of building relationships is and whatnot, and the aftermath of when something goes wrong. But back to the topic at hand, how are we able to be ourselves, and be ourselves rather, if we don't know who we are? And if we don't know who we are, why do we throw that advice, be yourself, around so easily, so frequently? Why do we just have it as a simple option for whenever someone doesn't know what to do? Just, oh, be yourself. How do I succeed in this job interview? Be yourself. How do I get this person to maybe like me? Be yourself, etc., etc., etc. I could do question after question after question. But we know who we are. We know our flaws. We don't want to show our flaws. We sometimes don't want to show who exactly we are, because we're scared that if we do, someone will not be interested. Like, you could be a guy who consistently cracks jokes at any and every opportunity. That might be just who you are. That might just be yourself. That's you being yourself. And it won't work. It won't work for some person. It won't work for everybody. And I think that's the key factor as well. Being yourself is very multifaceted, because if you are consistently yourself, potentially to a degree, you risk not necessarily alienation from people, but you risk some people not really seeing you in that same light, not seeing you in the light that you feel that you deserve to be seen in, because maybe you're yourself. Maybe you feel like you're yourself. But even though you're yourself, you're not everyone's cup of tea. I just came up with that on the spot. No, cup of tea's been around for forever. But to bring it to light, who you are is not only specific and not only individual, but you're very unique. Everyone's very unique in their own way or another. The thing is, we're all unique in our own ways or others, We all click better with different people individually or in a job interview sense for different roles. We fit. I tell you this right now, you can be yourself to the fullest capability possible, and you won't fit everywhere. You won't fit in positions you feel like you're fitted for. We don't necessarily talk about the other side of being yourself as much as that, or at least on that side where being yourself might actually be a factor that goes against you as compared to being a factor that goes for you. Because everyone has different tastes. Everyone is looking for someone different. And while we might think someone is right for us, they might not think that we are right for them, and vice versa. It's the idea where it's easy to fall in love with the idea of someone, maybe just through social media, maybe through specific texting, maybe just through virtual chatting. And then the other factor, maybe that's who they are for themselves, rather, when you meet in person and you don't click. Maybe that's just who they are. Maybe they know that they can be who they are, and they have actually honed who they are, but it doesn't fit for you. No one thinks about that when they think of being themselves. And when you hear the idea of being yourself, we all have our own ideas of who we are. We have our own vision of who we exactly, really who we are as individuals. And that, as we've been talking about, might be the exact opposite in the eyes of other people. We can't have any control over that. We can't control how people react to us. We can't control how people see us as individuals, as a potential person for a job opening. We can't control that. Then why is it that we're supposed to just be ourselves, and we get told, be yourself, and then expect that everything will play out according to what we believe will happen? It's not like that. And go back to the idea of knowing yourself. That can be really hard. It can be really hard to know who you are in different places and who you are individually on your own, in a crowd with people, in a crowd with your friends. But knowing yourself, not that there are any drawbacks. I don't think there are any drawbacks to knowing yourself. But I do believe that it's hard because there are a lot of things that we will find out about ourselves in life that we won't appreciate, that we are going to want to change. You might be someone who constantly scrolls on their phone from time to time. That's not necessarily in your eyes yourself. Maybe you're trying to fix that. But if you're out with your friends and you're constantly on your phone all the time, and they don't necessarily like that you're doing that, that's different. The idea, again, of perception comes into play. We see ourselves differently compared to how everyone else sees us. We can't control how everyone sees us. Everyone will have their own opinions, and that's what makes living so special, is that we all have our own unique positions on topics. We all have our own identities, and we all have our own beliefs for whatever comes into play. But again, just be yourself. Just be yourself. That's what they say. I think that people who are told to be themselves, and I think that the idea of be yourself is kind of flawed in that. It's flawed that we're told to just be who we are and that everything will fall into place as it should. You're opening and putting a lot in the hands of the universe to simply allow yourself and put yourself in that space to get to everywhere you want to be off the factor of just being yourself. And if you don't know yourself, how can you be yourself again? How are you able to be yourself if you don't know how you are in times of stress, times of relaxation, and times of day-to-day life? That's hard. It's hard to be yourself if you don't know who you are. It's hard to be yourself if maybe you don't have the full diagnosis, and we won't ever have the full diagnosis on ourselves. We have brains. Yes, that's part of the diagnosis. But the brain likes to play games with us sometimes. We might be the slobs of the slobs, the slobbiest of the slobs. And we won't know that, maybe. We don't think of that as who we are. And then all of a sudden, maybe you're in college and you're living with a roommate or whatnot, and they confront you about it and they say, hey, you gotta change, you gotta do this better. That might be a little hard to stomach. And that's the truth about ourselves. And when we be ourselves, I've mentioned that we aren't necessarily going to fit everyone's mold, and that we aren't going to be everyone's choice. But at times when we are ourselves, people won't like that. I don't know if it's as much as your problem individually as it is theirs. I do want to do a video down the line on how there are people who won't like you for reasons beyond your control, and that there are people who straight up won't like you in this world, and that's fine. But you can't please everyone by being yourself. You can't. What if the idea of ourselves and being yourself as a concept gets reframed? What if we reframe that in our minds? What if we decide to be the best possible versions of ourselves and to pursue that? Maybe you start to eat a little bit healthier, lose a couple pounds, maybe you start going to the gym consistently, maybe you start reading, maybe you start doing something new. That's another archetype. Or that's another factor of who we are, who we want to be. And we put that with the idea and the notion of ourselves. You know, being yourself is constantly shifting. You are constantly changing as a human being. Day by day, you're growing older. Day by day, you're making little internal decisions that either help or harm you. Day by day, you're living life. And day by day, that definition of yourself is changing, just as our bodies are and our minds are and everything in between on that front. So I wouldn't necessarily want to tell someone, just be yourself. Rather, I would try to tell that person, find out everything you can about yourself and choose the best version of that. Choose the best version. Choose the best yourself, the best version of yourself with helpful qualities, with helpful habits, and a helpful demeanor compared to some of the unhealthy sides, some of the, I don't want to say bad, because that's easy as said than done, as some snow just dropped behind me. But when we think of ourselves and being ourselves, we need to understand that we, one, have to find out who we are. Two, understand how everyone won't accept us for who we are. And not that we have to change who we are for them. But rather, three, we should choose the best version and pursue the best version of ourselves. Being yourself and the idea and concept of be yourself is so simple. I'm not surprised that it gets thrown around as consistently as it does. But there's a lot more that goes into being yourself than you want to admit. And so the next time you hear the phrase, be yourself, know how complex that is and take on that challenge.
Bonus content.
It's actually warm enough for me to not be wearing my double-layered jacket. Corduroy's back. I have had this on my mind actually for a while, especially this topic. And again, it goes back to Mufasa. I don't think that movie, while I understand the visuals are great and I think some of the songs are good, they butchered the entire love story. And I'm not going to go too deep. I'm not going to go too deep into this again. I think I want to make it a full video. I think I could talk about this for quite some time. One more week in February, and I think coming up next week, I'll have to check, we'll be past the 3-month mark of me making a talk per week. I'm very proud that I've been able to stick with this. I'm very proud that I've been able to learn and talk about as much as I have, but I also know there's so much more to come. There's so much on the horizon. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to bring to you what everything is believed and I can offer, quite frankly, across a wide range of topics in life. Bye now.